All right, let's get you set up here, and I'm on my other microphone, so this may be a little loud. I'm gonna turn it down just a touch. See, I'm in the red here. There we go. Hopefully this is sounding okay and not too hot, but let me know, I guess. Kevin or somebody, if you have my number and you want to text me, see what that audio level looks like. It looks a little hot. Let's see. That might be about right there where I want it. So can everybody hear me okay? Let me hop on this telephone here. You can see we've got a big old cluster of storms, and these are more like summertime storms that you would see in July because there's not a whole heck of a lot of wind shear, and we really don't have a lot of spin in the atmosphere, which is good news. We've got the potential for spin. Sounds good? Okay, thanks, Debbie. Also want to thank our sponsor, First Choice Tree Services there. Give them a call, especially if you got some wind damage. 540-759-1291. I can tell you these folks, out of all the sponsors I've ever had, they have been the kindest, gentlest, coolest bunch of folks to work with. And they cover all areas. So at least give them an email or a call if you've got any damage. So let's get to the first and foremost what's going on here. We've got a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings in effect and a couple of special weather statements. The storms that you see on your screen are obviously the main ones that we want to talk about through Franklin County and right near my location here, northeast of Rocky Mount, just along 220 as you make your way toward the Westlake area and Burnt Chimney, just north of Glade Hill. And the Redwood area, we do have quite a bit of thunderstorm activity. Now, this is mainly just heavy rain, but at times today, because we still have cold air left over from the winter, we are seeing some hail being reported in some of these as well, especially for this one out here in Pennsylvania County, right to the west of Chatham there on, it's like 57. North of 58 between Brosville and Wheel and Rondo there, Swansonsville, and Leatherwood in Henry County, just northeast of there. That's a big area where you see purple even showing up. And this is a custom radar palette, but still, wherever you see purple show up there just to the southeast of Climax, that's some big rain and probably some big hail, maybe a little bit of both. And from time to time, you may hear that alarm going off. That's one of my new weather programs telling me that something else has been issued, kind of a way to keep me on task. The storms continue through Roanoke, not quite as heavy at the moment, but that could change. And we've got a front nearby, and you can see how they actually are continuing through Newcastle as well. Not everyone's getting them, though, but a lot of rain in store for some folks, and some folks say they need it. Down here across I-40 area, down through Greensboro and Winston-Salem, almost to Raleigh-Durham. This activity is moving off to the north. So we were lucky in that we don't have a lot of wind shear. I'll show this to you fast, but my analytics tell me that you don't like seeing this stuff quite as much. But I do want to, this is the potential for storms to organize and thus possibly create any tornadoes. Very, very low wind shear today. We're looking at 20 to 30 knots of wind shear. A little bit earlier, we had the bolder 35 show up. Once you get to about 35 or 40 is when things start happening in terms of seeing anything that's trying to spin up. There's your supercell composite, very low. So we just don't have a lot of wind. And if you go up to the steering levels, there's a big upper low that's kind of been sprawled out across the southeast over the past couple of days. You can see the winds coming in out of the south and southwest. Only if you read your barbs here, a long line is 10 knots and a short line is 5. So about 15 to 20 knots, 10 to 20 knots here, about 5 knots. That's guiding these storms very slowly through the area. Now, our current severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for the Gretna and Chatham area, that one cell I was telling you about there earlier. I've got two screens that I've got with that, so if you'll bear with me here, I'll get you over to the severe weather mode, and there we go. So you can see all the lightning I've added on here for your benefit as well. As I get a lightning strike, I'll let you know. And I also got over my shoulder, you can't see it, but last detected here at my location 5 minutes ago, had some lightning as well. My weather station picks that up. So our severe thunderstorm warning, that's the first and foremost thing we want to get to. And again, this is Gretna going down. You can't even see the word Chatham, but it's under there. You can see all that reflectivity as well. This is more than likely hail If I go to Ville density, this is kind of a vertically integrated liquid. How much liquid is in the atmosphere? How much stuff do we have in the atmosphere? It's very high. So let's see if it correlates with the rain. It does not. You see there, it's probably a combination. If these numbers are also high, yeah, this is probably hail and melted hail along with the rainfall. When you get hail large enough, it will show up on your ZDR, and that's basically a fancy way of looking at whether the drops are flat like they are now. Heavy raindrops will fall in those reds where it's flatter, where everything is like a hailstone, like a circle. You'll see values close to, let me see if I can find a low value here. You see values closer to this gray right here, okay? So if we have a combination of seeing this with, let's see, our severe hail here and our Ville density, you know that you've got the likelihood of some hail there around Spring Garden and Dry Fork. And we've had reports today, there's your probability of severe hail. And that's pretty high. That's up at around 96.8%. So yeah, pretty high amount of hail in the atmosphere, although it's interesting that on the ZDR product it's not showing up. It may be melting partially down and kind of fooling the radar there just a little bit. But that is an intense cell with a big updraft, and it's moving off to the northeast. Let me give you the regular radar view here, and I'm going to smooth it out for you folks who aren't into the pixelation. I get it. I do that because I can see the raw data. And the big difference is when you look at raw data, you're looking at what the actual radar is showing, where your weather app looks more like this. And that's important because if I want to look at actual pixel, I don't want it smoothed over. There are algorithms that redraw or remap this stuff. This is a better one that I'm using. This is the best way to see what the radar is really seeing because that's actually each pixel. But then your weather apps remap that even more. So, you have to spend money to get the good stuff. But you can get radar scope, you can get GR2 like I have from Gibson Ridge. But right up 29 is the core of the hail here. And I'm going to read you the text of the severe thunderstorm warning. This is an update. No, this is the 802. Right as I was typing up the live feed here, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning for most of Pennsylvania County until 8:45 at 8:01, and they've just shaven that off behind that hail shaft there. So that's what they're looking at. This is primarily a hail-producing storm, along with a ton of lightning, because once you get ice rubbing together up there, it's like taking a balloon up against your head and rubbing it. You create static with ice too. We had a severe thunderstorm located right over Chatham, moving north at 20 miles per hour. 60 mile per hour winds possible. I don't see that here. I do see a little rotation. And I emphasize little. We don't have any screaming winds up here today, and that's the good news. That is, it's moving north at 20. If we were talking about tornadoes, this would be moving north at 50. But here's the thing. Hail could be deadly. It falls at a terminal velocity of about, especially when it gets up to about an inch or more, at 70 to 90 miles per hour. That's like going to a professional baseball game and having the pitcher nail you right in the head and all over your body by numerous baseballs. And that can... Obviously, it damages cars, roofs, siding, trees. A lot of that comes down. So Alta Vista, Hurt, Chatham, Gretna, Mount Airy, Climax, and Pittsville. This is in effect until 8:45. It appears to be a pretty good expiration time. We'll watch it as it nears the Gretna area because it is headed your way in Alta Vista, Gretna, and Lynch Station as well. You can see that we did have this other polygon here. I've been trying to teach my followers about this. This is what they call a special weather statement. And it's what it's what the National Weather Service will issue before they want to put a severe thunderstorm out. So it's kind of like a precursor to a possible warning, or basically it's an area that they're watching, but it hasn't yet met severe criteria. And that's the case right here in Martinsville and Henry County. You can see some hail there. We just got a storm report in provided by my old station, Channel 13 there. They got a storm report of 1/4 inch hail, which is about, that's not severe, so that's why they didn't put the warning out. I was getting mixed up and thinking it was hail the size of a quarter. That would be 1 inch hail. This is more like a just less than a dime. But still, there's a lot of hail in these storms as they move on into Snow Creek and Figsboro, right past the radio station here on B99, and hopefully a lot of you are listening to that. You can barely see it. There's a red line right through here. This is a warm front that has been lifting north throughout the day today. And again, if we had more wind shear and this was coming through in the middle part of the day, we'd be in real trouble. What we're dealing with now is more like a weak wind, but very, very strong hail producing activity with these storms. And we've got a lot of lightning in here as well. And lightning's one of the underrated killers in these storms too. I have a feeling we're going to see a new special weather statement up somewhere between Roanoke and Smith Mountain Lake very soon, maybe even in the Bedford. It's why I shared to some of your groups. And if you're an administrator or a member of some of the Roanoke community warning groups or whatever, I hope you don't mind me doing that. I've had other group people kick me off because they're not meant for weather, and I get that. So just trying to spread the word the most I can. But this overall activity, you can actually follow it from West Virginia here through the southern Allegheny County area where it's a little weaker. But then we've got, this really strong cluster. And this was actually a merging of cells. They developed in North Carolina. There was already a line, but few cells out to the west. They are coming out of the mountains, and you can see that we've got storm reports there from WXII of 1/4 inch hail in diameter. To the south, and it may be easier for me to show it to you on another system, but I'm just going to show it for right here. Look at all these hail reports around Apex, North Carolina, and Raleigh. This is where we had ping pong ball sized hail, 1.5 inch hail, up to 2 inch in diameter hail. That's a lot of hail, and some wind damage in there as well. This is because they were warmer, they were more unstable today, and that facilitated those strong updrafts that you need to circulate those hailstones. I can tell you there's also a kind of a slower progression overall, even though the actual storms are moving north. If you actually took a cell and followed a line, it's actually moving north, but the activity is still kind of hanging out in our area. So some areas are probably going to see some relatively dry, but when you get a lot of rain in a short amount of time, you can still get some flooding out there. So this is why everything's moving slow. Let's go in here, and I thought I had my storm reports on. Let's see. Got a few places I can show this to you. I'm going to try to anyway, bring up my iPhone. And we'll screen mirror that to a program called Lonely Screen. And there it is. What do you want? I'll subscribe later. I promise. Okay, it doesn't like it when. All right, so it's pretty much a free program. They're pretty neat. So there you see my location. I'm going to get rid of that. That can be a bit distracting. And there you see the Gretna, Chatham, and 29 area. I've got lightning overlaid here too. And again, watch out around Alta Vista and the Brooknell. This activity is going to be moving a little bit closer to you as we pan out here a little bit. Again, you can see how it more congeals into more of a just a steady rain here as we go back to the south. I'm looking for a spot that'll give me these hail indicators, and I think I know where to get that. Let me see here. Which program's going to show that the best? WSV3. I knew I kept you around for a reason. Here we go. And I just completely, let me do something here. Just completely moved my source over. So what we'll do is we'll add a new display. All right, so there it is. Just give me a second here. I've yet to get all this fine-tuned the way I want it, but I think if you're not frustrated by the fact that I'm constantly adjusting everything, it kind of is interesting because you're sitting here live with me as I track this stuff. If you're a patron, you knew this was a possibility today. earlier this evening by around 4 o'clock or so. I put an update out and told folks, hey, this is a hail producing an event and a lightning producing event. So there you go. So what we're waiting on, you see it flashing here. I've got direct feed coming out of the National Weather Service radar, and hopefully it's back up, although right now it's not doing much. So let's switch over to level 3. And that's going to look a little worse to you. But the one thing I do want to show you here, we'll go to local storm reports and see if I've got, I don't know where my LSRs are. I said R twice. And I realize that's distracting. That sound may be distracting it, but you may not be able to hear it. There's a flash flood warning too in western parts of Greensboro, just to the west of Greensboro. There's you go through Guilford County. And again, this rain is not really moving all that much. Let me see. I got the feeling I'm eating up bandwidth, but I thought my local storm reports would stay on here for a while. What I may have to do is pull up the other one. I've got like 4 radar systems going here and see if I can get it to show up. Let's go back to level 2 and see if we can get this live scan to work. I'm getting concerned that the radar in Blacksburg, it was having trouble today, and it appears to be, let's see, 026. Well, at least it's working on this side. I don't know about what's going on with it here. So we'll go ahead and smooth this out. Let's see, since we're using level 3 stuff. And we'll advance this for the next, over the past 6 hours. So you can see in the bottom here, the shading, the yellow and orange, that is the combination of instability, and it's also the combination of spin. So you can see that was greatest across North Carolina. We had more wind shear to work with. The outflow from those storms has basically converged over the Roanoke Valley area now, and now I can show you that it's raining really hard southwest of Benton and going into Windy Gap Mountain there. Very tough go of it. And, you know, drought or no drought, or even if it's been dry in your area, when it rains this hard, it's going to be hard to drive in at. So that's a concern out there as we continue with this warning up to Alta Vista. And if you live anywhere up 29 up towards Lynchburg, you should pay very careful attention to this storm. I turn that radar off and I turn on the, let's see, turn on, here we go. We'll look at some hail stuff here. And I worked on this some today. So this is what we called MRMS hail detection. And it's also used for radar and stuff. But this basically, let's see, looks at possible hail sizes. And I thought I had a palette picked out, but I think that was on a different program. Anyway, we'll just show it to you. It's estimating about a ½ inch of hail. Some of this is melting on the way down. And you see that EHI, that's because I've got that underneath there. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. So now you're just looking at possible hail sizes around Chatham at 0.5, ½ inch hail. And again, ¼ inch hail is what's actually being reported. And the reason I was wanting to get to this program is because the LSRs, the local storm reports down here across the Carolinas, they do show. It's easier to read those. But for whatever reason, I think I've missed my chance to see those reports graphically here for you. Although they do still exist on some other programs. This is a 1 hour loop whenever I put this on. We've also got an indication of hail here around, again, this is hail, not rain, about a ½ inch or so there, right there at the Hardy area, just south of 24, right there near the Parkway. Again, Windy Gap Mountain here. This is hail that could be up around 1/4 to a ½ inch in diameter. Right now, I'm thinking it's probably just about 1/4 inch in diameter, but the point, 1/10 to 1/3 of an inch in diameter is decent hail. And again, what we had earlier here to prompt the warning, we had hail up to about 1 inch showing up there on the radar screen. I can zoom you in even more here. I think I added some roads through Franklin County. So yes, we are getting there with some of this graphical interface stuff. Don't see any more special weather statements. That's a good thing. Let's turn the lightning up a little bit. By the way, if you sell electric stuff and you don't sell heating and cooling, you just do electric, give me an email or a call, because this is going to be something we're going to use all spring, and I want to be able to link you up with whatever you're trying to do as far as getting your product sold. Those backup generators are very popular now, and we can actually look at the energy in this lightning. Sometimes when a storm jumps its lightning, it's an indicator of some intensification there. So near Chatham there, you can actually see the energy. I think it's 1.541 pectojoules. Pretty cool. 4.9 minutes ago, each lightning strike, I can look at that, and I can see exactly where it hit, where it was picked up, and how much energy it had. And you can put it into motion too, and it'll show you that as well. In other words, if I put the radar back on here, we'll just put the basic radar on. We'll take that radar off. We'll take the MRMS off as well, and we'll zoom you out here. And you can see the lightning there following the trend too. In fact, you know what? You take the radar off. You can just follow the lightning. You can see how it just blew up once it crossed the warm front and moved closer into Pittsylvania County and out the Vista. So it's raining to beat the band, and I tell you what, still not letting up anytime soon in some of these areas. So there's a live look at the warnings with the lightning. This is Cape or storm energy. Lots of fuel. We just don't have a lot of spin. So we've got capes up around 1,000 joules per kilogram. That'll get a storm going. In some cases, it's been known to get tornadoes going. However, in this case, we just don't have the spin in the atmosphere, despite that warm front, to get anything going beyond that. And that certainly would be your good news of the evening, for sure. Let's see, I was going to put a little satellite up there for you. Clear that out. And I wonder, I'm about to check for power outage info, because I'd be curious to see if there are any power outages. Let's see. Work on our palette here. Just to give you an idea, I've got a lot of different palettes. And there's a way... Oh, exciting news. Hold on. I'm thinking in 5 times at once here. But there's a way to... save these color palettes. In other words, I can save different viewpoints, and almost like a system like I used to have at the TV stations, where I can click through maps and not have to kind of jog around here. The creator of this WSV3 product is a guy by the name of Paul Marvelous. I call him Marvelous, but it's not pronounced Marvelous. It's spelled that way. Anyway, he sees what I'm doing and knows I've got experience in television. So we're going to be working together on a new release of this very same program that Ryan Hall uses, that everybody uses. I might get some perks at least to try things out, and certainly let them know what I need and what I think you need. So if you want to see something, let me know and I'll let him know. And he literally codes this stuff, which is pretty amazing, because this particular program is a lifetime. I paid $360 for it. I have a Lightning and I have a satellite add-on that my Patreon money pays for. But when I was at other stations, we paid about $250,000 for the same stuff, plus about $3,000 a month for the data. Yeah, so he has changed the game, this Paul guy, on helping us do what, you don't have to be at a station anymore. It's just how the streamers are evolving here. Just try to see if we can get our Blacksburg radar directly back here. And now we're getting a new scan, so I can turn off the basic radar. We were getting it for a second there. I think they're having some issues still up in Blacksburg. What else did I want to show you here? Let me go while we're mirroring here, while you can't see it. I'm going to show it to you on my phone here in just a second. Let's see. All right, so I want to show you this first too. These are rainfall amounts off of Radar Omega. If you hear that beeping, that's a update coming in. But this is 1 hour rainfall. And I mentioned that we're not really too concerned about flooding, but there's going to be some ponding of water in roadways for sure, especially in Pittsylvania County here, where just over the past hour, the radar is estimating about 2.5 to almost 3 inches of rain in an hour. That's from Hollywood on 57, just south of Climax, and again near Chatham. And you can see the warning continues up to Alta Vista and Gretna, but it's not moving a whole lot, even though the radar is indeed updating on my other screens here. So that's kind of interesting. I've got it up here too as well. Let's see if I'm still mirroring. While you look at that, those are rainfall rates, and sometimes the rate of the rain is far more important than the actual amount of rain that you get. So we're still mirroring. Okay, let me bring this up then. If I pull up radar omega, is it gonna go crazy with me or not? I want to do it from my phone here. We might be good. Let's see. There it is. A little pixelated since it's off the phone. It really wants me to subscribe. And I will. I think I already have. I just forgot my password. Alright, so I mentioned this Raleigh stuff. I'm moving down toward Durham here in the Cary. And watch as I'm zooming in. This was earlier today. Just outside of Raleigh, look at these hail reports. 1.5 to 1.7 inch diameter hail to the southwest of Raleigh, there around Cary. And if you look across High Point, and you can see the heavier rain falling, still causing some water issues there. There may be a flood advisory soon for Pittsylvania County. And in fact, I would go ahead and assume there is, because there's just a lot of moisture in the air to work with. And you see, as we go 3D, these storms do tower up quite a bit. They're bringing down a lot of rain. To be fair enough, that wasn't a true 3D. That was simulated 3D. But we can go true 3D with you here. Let me just go back here to the regular radar. I don't have any other special weather statements out. That's somewhat good news. But I am concerned about the rainfall rate here. This is getting pretty extreme around, what's that, Wheel, Jones Mill. Some of these locations, are so advanced that Mitchell Road, Pittsylvania County, Callens Road, 605, Climax Road, that the people that live there haven't even heard of them, they'll tell me. So that's a pretty cool thing. But you want to be away from windows regardless, because if the storm is dropping hail, it doesn't look like it is right now. It's mainly just a heavier rain thing. But you do want to take shelter from it, because hail busts out windows. And again, it's got that terminal speed there of about 80 to 90 miles per hour as it moves on through the area. So it's getting closer now to Alta Vista and Hill Grove. That's 8:38. And that's the latest scan. Yeah, so you can see how I had to look. It's only 2 minutes old. Maybe a little more than that if you're watching, over the stream, of course. There's going to be a delay. But there's just a cluster now of activity along 29. And in Franklin County, if you're watching, we had rain this morning off to our west. We had the sun coming up behind us, and we had a gorgeous couple of rainbows, double rainbows today. Then when I got home, we had another one. That was pretty neat to see, but we are getting some pretty good convection here. There was a trough that made its way through here as well. I wanted to show my telestrator. I'm not sure why it doesn't come up when I log on. Probably going on at one time in my mind and on my computer screen. Let's see. Appreciate you watching on a Friday night. I know viewership's usually down. So it's mainly this band that's the main thing that I'm watching. And that's moving the individual cells kind of north like this, northeast. But the actual cluster of rain, if you were to look at, that, let's find a color that would stand out here. It's kind of hard to with what we're looking at here. The cluster of rain is staying over the same area. So it's cells moving within the same area, but what that tells me is there in the upper atmosphere, there's forcing going on that's keeping this rain around. If you live in Botetourt County, though, I shared it to the Botetourt County page, you're about to get some rain there around Well, Fincastle now getting the rain there at the Cracker Barrel there. Eagle Rock approaching up 220 there as you move your way up past the roundabout. I'm going to see some rain very soon near 43, Highway 43. Also in the Bedford now, Bedford proper, I don't know if it's actually a proper or not, but basically Bedford itself, staying away from the really heavy rain right now. You've got some moderate rain off to your east, and I would think that would weaken some of this heavier rainfall. But we've got newer and stronger cells back here off to the west here from Botetourt County, as I mentioned, and back through here in the Franklin County and even northeast Henry County. This stuff's got to get through here at some point too. And so I am, like I say, this is becoming more of a flash flood or ponding of water or flood advisory kind of event. I'm reading the latest from the National Weather Service. I'm not allowed to show you anything, but let me just read over something real quick. They had some rotation. We had some calibration issues from the radar earlier. Gusty winds, they let that warning go away. So this warning that you've got in Pennsylvania County, it's no longer rotating as much, and the reason is, same thing we were just talking about, it is not spinning all that much. It's just a really heavy rain producing thunderstorm. Get over here to the other radar. We'll smooth this out for you. Oh, I know what I want to do. Let's see if I can do it. So let's go inside this storm. Last time I did this, I crashed everything. So just be ready. This might crash. All right. Strongest part of the storm, even though the warning is going to go here soon, is now hitting Gretna, and I'm sure you can hear the thunder and out the vista. They've also got a good cell there near Hardy and Laymantown there, just near Blue Ridge, south of Fincastle, in western Bedford County as well. So watching out in those areas, not to be excluded here. Union Hall, Pinhook, North Shore, Westlake, and down through Snow Creek, still getting repeated rounds of storms and probably some smaller hail. Now, a new special weather statement has replaced the warning that's about to go away. So I'm going to read that. At 8:43, we had a strong storm over Chalk Level or near Gretna, moving northeast at 15 miles per hour. With all that rain coming down, they're calling 40-mile-per-hour winds possible, half-inch hail possible. It needs to be up to an inch for severe. So, you know, that's why the special weather statements are good to show, because sometimes technically something that's not severe can still be your worst storm you've ever seen because of the way the wind and the rain's combining and just the way the lightning's coming down with a lot of the stuff. But, you know, obviously outdoors, seek shelter inside a building. If you're streaming this, you're obviously hopefully inside, but be a hero and tell somebody in Mount Airy or Gladys, anybody in Campbell County, that you're going to want to take shelter from this as it continues to move in. I wouldn't advise driving on this. I got to imagine. We'll look at some VDOT cameras here in a minute. I can't imagine it's all that great. So we're going to look three-dimensionally into the storm if it will let us. And it's going to let us. I just have to go over here and grab the other window. I know you can't see it, but I've got about 6 monitors going on here. So this is a look at the inside of the storm over Chatham right now. And I don't know if I have any of these saved on this computer or not. Okay, I go back up here. All right, so let's see. I can adjust what you see, so I can take out everything that's not pouring down as far as rainfall is concerned. So you get an idea. I might leave you a little outer shell here so you can kind of see the overshooting top. That's what you see right there, up at about 40,000 feet. By the way, the freezing level, just shy of 10,000 feet. And this is the level between that yellow line. It may be hard to see, but the area between, I'm going to draw it here, between this red line and this yellow line. Again, we're looking up in the atmosphere. This is the ground. This is going up in the sky. 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, 50,000 feet. getting up to around 50,000 feet on this thing. But this area right in through here is where, if we've got moisture in that air, that's where it's going to be turning to ice and probably turning into hail. So that's an area we want to watch, especially if we are looking at an ISO surface of the size of where the huge raindrops are. We're not looking at that at the moment, but it is pretty neat to kind of see this in a 3D view here. And as it updates, we'll get more to show you here. But I'm taking it back in time here a little bit, and you can see that big old cell there as it continues to move, and it kind of grows, and then it decays a little bit. But it's an impressive storm for sure. There are pre-made palettes that I have on another computer that I can use at some point that will give you different vantage points. I can also change the lighting on some of this stuff here. See, I thought that was here, but it's probably hiding. Oh, there it is. Yep, back up in monitor 4. Wherever I use this last is where all my windows want to be. So we can make this more ambient or diffuse, make it more 3D looking. Why is this useful? Well, it's useful because I can actually see all layers of the thunderstorm, and in hail especially, you get a lot of. We can adjust where the sun's at, where it thinks it's at. We'll use world space. We can do a lot with that. So that's that storm on the three-dimensional plane. So again, if you were looking at it down like this, you might see something like that. But if you tilt it, you can see that some of these hail shafts do grow. It sometimes is better just to do a line segment here. We've got a new special weather statement out as well, so we'll look a little bit deeper into those storms. This is the one we were just looking at, Mount Airy, Virginia, just to the west of Volans here, under that new special weather statement there near Chalk Level. Watch out again, Rustburg and the Gladys. You haven't got anything bad yet except for just some rain, but I think this cell here may try to move over an undisturbed area. You have a temperature there near Brookneal of 68 and a dew point of 63. It's muggy, and you see the lightning there continuing just to jump all around. So the storm's not done by any chance. This is a new special weather statement that got issued not too long ago by the folks at the National Weather Service in Blacksburg. I'm going to put this in motion as I read it to you here. This was issued at 8:44, winds in excess of 30 miles an hour, half-inch hail, same kind of thing. Roanoke, Vinton, not so much anymore. It's past you now. But the areas I was talking about here, Bedford, Buchanan, Troutville, Stewartsville, and Montville. One of the advantages that to watching a meteorologist as opposed to a guy that's streaming, and don't get me wrong, Ryan Hall, y'all, does some great work. And probably a lot of you never heard of him until now. He's doing some good stuff. He gives away lots of money. He's got a lot of money, and he's doing kind of the same thing I do, but he's not a meteorologist. So what happens there is he's telling you things as they happen. What happens on my stream a lot, and I'm not trying to brag here, all glory goes to God. But being a meteorologist, I train on the radars. Every spring I get a refresher, and I continually look up the latest research. And what ends up happening is I will start talking about something, and then we'll see that because the National Weather Service is also noticing the same thing and typing up a very similar warning or special weather statement. And so if you're watching, you kind of get like a real-time analysis. You don't have to wait on the Weather Service as much to issue something here. We've had a report from a trained spotter here of 0.7 inch hail. So that was almost about an inch. That was a well put in place warning because some areas may have got an inch of hail out of that. It looks a little suspect in that I see a little bit of a bow echo here. My winds are showing about 30 to 40 miles per hour at the most. This is a gust front that you're seeing here from Spring Garden and all that showing you down through the rest of Pennsylvania County. All that is showing you is where some of this cooler and I won't say drier, but cooler and heavier air has come out from this storm in more of a straight line fashion. And with the rotation no longer a big deal, it really wasn't to begin with, but we've got a couple of areas, kind of boundaries, if you will, where you kind of see those areas there. Like these are outflow boundaries. And so we could be looking at new development somewhere up in here and heading between Mount Airy and Bolins and toward Brookneal. I would watch that area over the next 30 minutes to an hour. Again, it's taking a while for these things to get through here. This product, by the way, doesn't show me how hard it's raining, how fast the wind's blowing. All it's showing me is that, like in these dark gray areas, the wind is not doing a lot of change within each radar scan. It's just staying the same. It's not moving within the radar scan itself, each pixel. When you see the yellows and the oranges and the reds, that's an indication that wind speeds and directions are changing a lot. There's a lot of wind shear just within these pixels, and you can follow patterns like that, and you can see there's clearly a couple outflow boundaries. It's a good way to see cool, stable air where it's raining will show up like this, because once the rain settles the air, you get this gray, quiet, what we call spectrum width. That's what that's called. And the areas where the storm is still getting its act together and about to do something possibly in terms of anything severe, you will see these pixels start to show up. And a lot of times, even in tornadoes, you might see a bullseye there near some rotation or whatever. So it's not the case. I'm not too worried about tornadoes this time, and I'm one of the more aggressive guys when it comes to that type of forecasting. Not to say that they're not impossible, but we just don't have a whole lot of wind shear. It's still pouring down rain, and my house is right here. I'm looking off to the east. There's some more lightning here. It looks like we've got another hail indication showing up here at about 0.43 inches in eastern Franklin County. Let's put this into motion. It doesn't look like this is going to stop anytime soon. You can see on the loop, everything's hanging out here. So I'm really starting to get worried about these rainfall amounts that are adding up and just adding up here. And the same thing's going to happen at some point from Fincastle into Bedford up to Lexington and Glasgow. These storms are going to have to put the brakes on at some point. And it may be that they weaken some before doing that. But there's a lot of heavy rain now, and there's a lot of a decent amount of jet stream energy that's keeping these things going for us. So that's a look at that. We're going to look at the hail potential right now. At least the possibility of severe hail still pretty high south of Mount Airy. Let's look at the Botetourt County storm. We've got some hail possibly showing up here, about 1/2 of an inch, but that's off the radar. And what you got to realize, a lot of this is going to melt on its way down. Let's look at it this way. We're going to take a 3D look at the volume of this, did not mean to do that, the volume of this Botetourt County, Bedford County storm. See if I can catch the edge of it here, because I want to be able to see the side of the storm. And we'll move this over. All right, so we got storm tops at about 30,000 feet. That's not too impressive. I'm going to get rid of some of this darker green here and just kind of give you an idea of where like the really strong hail core, if there was one, it would be up around here.